Hi everyone, this is Raj Sudan. So welcome back to a new video. So this video is basically a JavaScript video. We're going to use a numbers API, an API which will help us to get random facts or even facts about numbers. So I'll show you what I mean. So we have an header here, so we have an input box, so you can type whatever your number want. So let's go with 50, and if you want a fact or a real fact for 50, you just type 50 and you click enter. It's gonna take a second or so, a millisecond, half a second or so, and it's gonna generate you the fact for a number. For example, 50 is the height in kilometers that a volcano can shoot ash into the sky. Wow, that's really I just knew it right now. Okay, so it search for 655, and so it gives you 55 as a common speed limit for rural secondary roads, blah blah blah. Okay, so that's what we're gonna achieve. Okay, very simple. Just amount of 20 just amount of simple code, 20 lines of code. We should be able to do this. Okay. And then you can actually type any other numbers if you want, and if you don't have any numbers, if you want to click, it's not going to generate anything. And if you want to copy the numbers, you can just say enter there, and it's going to generate the value, for example this text here. And if you want to copy this text, you can straight up click on copy. Okay, so it's going to get you're going to get a basic alert saying the fact has been copied. And then just to check, let's just paste it here. And if you see, there we go, 80% is a percentage of American who say married the same woman. Okay, so something like that. Okay, so that's where we'll be working. Obviously you can do it in real time. As I type number, it could generate, but I just didn't want to make anything complicated. It's just as simple. If you type a number, we should be able to get the facts. Okay, and by the way, we're using Bootstrap 5. By no means we are gonna look at the Bootstrap classes and stuff. Just some classes that we just add, just to make sure, just to consume less time. Okay. All right, so let's get started with the video. Okay, so basically how we are able to achieve this is what we're using a API called numbers API, which is a fantastic API if you're starting out as a JavaScript learner. It's really good if you want to get your hands into API. This will actually help you to really get it in the most easiest way. Okay, so if you see we have three options: math, trivia, and date. Now we're using trivia. You can also feel free to use math. It's just changing. If you can just mess with this, once you follow this video properly, you'll end up being able to use all of these three easily, and also further making changes and stuff. Okay, so we're gonna hit to this endpoint right here, number and the type, and we're gonna use that. And usage example, you don't need to take a look at here. You can see that's generating the value, whatever value we type. So if you want, you can go through the documentation, but I've actually prepared this video to make sure that you're not gonna lose your head reading this documentation, because the documentation is not pretty bad, but it's just pretty not that good. It's not a project based one. Okay, so that's why I want to do something project based. So here it is. So okay, so as I told, this is the one. I'll leave the link anyway to get, if you want to get started with this. Okay, so I'm just gonna get rid of that. All right, so let's get started. So I have a VS Code open up, which is the text editor that I use. Feel free to use whatever text editor you want. So yeah, I have an index.html and a main.js. As we are using Bootstrap, as I told, we're not going to mess with the style sheet and stuff like that. Okay, so quickly let's generate a simple boiler template, and here we're going to call it numbers API. Okay, and you could feel free to call whatever title you want. So like you say numbers API, and now in the body, as we're using Bootstrap, which is gonna take the container. So we have a div with a class of a container, and inside this we're gonna have an h1. Okay, so this h1 is gonna have the same name, which is class, same name, numbers API, and a class. We need to text center this. Okay, let's say text center, and we need margin top of 5. We need to bring it a bit down, and a margin bottom of 2, and that's what we need. And that's just it for the h1. And if we're gonna, my port is opened up here in port 1500. So let's go localhost port 5500, and you have this. So basically it doesn't work, it's not centered because we don't have Bootstrap. Okay, so let's go quickly grab Bootstrap. So it is version 5.bootstrap.com. There's a lot of hype going on about this. It's pretty good. You have a lot of customizing stuff, but I just don't feel it. I'm using this pretty much all the time. Because I'm just gonna place the CDN. Let's soft wrap it. And okay, so we have grabbed it, so we don't need this. And if you see, it's centered. Okay, it looks nice. Okay, so next thing I want to do, I want to obviously get a p tag, a paragraph, and I'm going to copy a certain text from here. So this is just something that I cut it off from my top of my head, and let's create a class for it. And obviously we need it to be text center. Okay, and we also need a margin top of 2. That's just it for it. Okay, and now it's gonna have something like that. It just looks just the same. Okay, and now what we want to do, we're gonna create a div. We're gonna come out of this div because we should be inside this div, but we have to create a new div just for the form, which is our input. So we're going to create a div with a class of form group, which is a bootstrap class of form group. Then we have an input here, and the input is going to have some classes, but we just say input. And now the type of this input is going to be a number. Okay, so you can also have text if you want. We can convert this in JavaScript, but for now we'll just have it as numbers. Okay, and now what we want to do, we want to just leave it as it is. And if you see, you're gonna have something like that. So I'm just gonna paste a couple of classes that I do have in Bootstrap. So I'm just gonna go paste it up, and if you see, it's gonna be nicely aligned. So until this is the Bootstrap classes, the input just is a class that I wanted to do, so it makes it easier in JavaScript for targeting. This makes it I mean, you need a class to target in JavaScript. Okay, that's simple as that. And now I need to have a placeholder, so let's say a placeholder which is gonna have type of number. Okay, so that's what we need, not number. Okay, that's what we need. And now what we want to do, we want to create a button. So inside, just in this div, we're going to create a button quick. So let's say button, and this button is going to have a couple of classes. So let's go take this and paste it here. Okay, it's going to say it's a btn, a button primary. It's going to be a btn large, it's going to be btn block, and it's the width is going to be 75, and we center aligned it. Okay, and inside the button we are going to say it's going to be entered. That's what we need. Okay, all right, so there we go, we have a button there. All right, that's what we need. And the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to just create a card, a simple card, right, quick and fast. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy and paste a simple code of HTML, and I promise I won't do this in JavaScript, just to speed up the process, just not to take a lot of time. So what we want to do, we're going to just create a div as we have created here, and inside the div, okay, or even you can just come outside the div, it doesn't matter. So we're going to come out to the div and press just put this up. Okay, and now if you see, this is not working because we have default set display none. Okay, so we'll get rid of that, and if you see, what do we have? We have something like that, and then we can have a number. So and I just kept it empty because we're going to automate this in JavaScript. And the p tag, we can just say lorem 10 to have some text. So this is how the dummy data, or just a dummy fact is going to look like. Okay, so I hope it makes sense. So we're going to just automate this. What are we going to replace? Whatever we have inside this in JavaScript. Okay, so just to look at the classes we have given this a width, and which is our style, and some of the basic card components in Bootstrap. Now it's Bootstrap 5, but just the same classes, doesn't matter. Then we have the card title, obviously, the card type, and all of these text, and a button which is going to say a small button. Okay, so that's what it just for the HTML. And now we're going to just straight up jump on the JavaScript and get started. So before we jump, we need to have it connected. So let's say script, okay, with a source. Oops, let's say source with main.js. Okay, all right, so we have connected it. So just to make sure it all works, let's just alert one over there. Oops, it's alert one, and it's gonna alert one. That's working. Okay, now what we want to do, we want to just get all the animals. So we're going to use document.get query selector to create variables inside that. So for example, we're gonna create an we're gonna look for an event, and we're gonna fire off a basic function to do this. Okay, and also the copy factor is gonna have a different function. All right, so let's first of all grab some of it. So first of all, I need to grab the input, and I have to grab the button, and I have to grab a couple of stuff. So first of all, let's go and let's say let enter. First of all, let's get input. So I'm just going to call input and say it's going to be document dot query selector. Oops, let's say query selector. And what this is going to have is going to take a class, so query selector called dot input. Okay, so if you see here, we have a class called input. It's not a bootstrap class, okay, and that's for input. And the next thing that we want to do, we want to grab everything, whatever we need to just grab those. So just for now, we're going to grab two of them, two to three of them. So we want to get the enter btn now. Okay, so because we want to listen for a click, and then we want to fire off the function. So let's say enter btn, and this is going to be called we have given it a class called btn, and this is a bootstrap class, but this is also can be, because it's unique and we also only have one btn or just a first btn having that. Both of these has the same class, but according to JavaScript, it's just going to get the first element having this class. So in this case, we're not going to mess with any we don't get any messing like your double values. Okay, so let's quickly do that, and that's what we have for that. And now what we want to do, guys, we just want to check whether these stuff are working. So let's say console.log input button. Okay, so it's just going to console.log whatever we have in the input. So I'm going to put this below here. Let's make it this a bit bigger. We'll get rid of this, and I'm going to go for the console. And if you see, I'm going to expand this. It's not going to give you anything. So what we need to do, let's say 5 and enter. Oh, okay, so what we have, we're just going to console.log the input. It's not going to work, so we need to create a click event and work, and hopefully that will work. And if you see, we're console.logging, and by the way, we're console.logging the whole input here itself. So we don't need the whole input, we need whatever is inside the input. So we grab it through saying dot value, and if I put 4 here and enter, or if you put 5 here, it's enter. It's not going to come here because we have to refresh the page in order to get it, but through a click event we could be able to grab this. Okay, for example, if I go inside the all right, it's fine, you can get it when I do it. Okay, so don't worry. So we need this stuff. Okay, so we know it's working, and now what we want to do, we want to run a function when our btn enter button is being clicked. So let's quickly create a function. Oops, not coming down. Okay, so let's create a function here. So let's say function, and we call this function, sorry, not a function, we actually click for an event. So let's say enter btn dot add an event listener. If anyone clicks on this, okay, this particular button, we need to generate facts. So I'm going to have a separate function for it. So I'll generate facts. Okay, I'm just going to close this up like that. Okay, so it's going to give a fact undefined, so we know we're going to just define the fact. Let's say get facts, okay, which is going to be a function, and this function is just going to console.log just some random text like that. Okay, so now if I click this, it's going to just console.log or some random text. We don't need to, for now we don't need anything to console.log, but in case of just to check what we have, it's console.log that input value, because we have set dot value. If I type 5, it should give me 5. Okay, so why we actually don't get anything is that because we have defined it above the function. We need to define this inside the function. So let's copy this and let's put this inside the function. So it's gonna every time the function run, it's gonna get updated, which means it's gonna give us the updated values. So let's say 7 and type, it's gonna give you 7. If you put some sort of like 7,000, 7 million or something, it's gonna give you that value as well. So as much as you type, as much as you do, it's gonna give you the value. So we know we get that particular value. So now what we want to do, we want to simply define some stuff. Okay, so define some variables just to make sure everything, we're gonna put everything inside that. For example, oops, okay, so now what we, as I told you, we need to get some variables. So let's say that, and let's say card title. Okay, so basically I'm just trying to get everything first and then start doing it, okay? And while we do it, you can understand why we do this, why we grab this now. So we want to say dot card and dot card title. So why I use this dot card title is because if I type a number here, it's gonna get this number, and this is called dot card title. And the other one which I'm just gonna create right now, it's called card text. So let's say text, which is equals to the document dot query selector. And what we want to do, we want to grab something called dot card text quickly. And if you see, we have grabbed something called dot card text, which is going to be this one, okay? These are going to be now dummy values here, but we're going to just replace them with whatever value we get through fetching that data, okay, if that makes sense. Okay, so it works. And also one last thing, I need to grab this card here. So let's go up here and let's say something called card. And why I do this is because we're just gonna defaultly set this to display none, and once we click this, I just need to display this block. Just that, just as simple as that. Okay, so we want to say dot card. That's it. Okay, that's what we need. And now in the function, we're gonna just do the fetching stuff. So let's get a console. And okay, so first of all, I'm gonna use fetch to it. Okay, you can use Ajax or Axios or whatever you want. I'm using fetch. So let's get to fetch, and then what we want to do, we want to paste the API. Okay, so which endpoint you're gonna hit. So I'm just gonna hit a basic endpoint here, and you want to pass whatever value or number you have, for example 5. So if I just copy this, okay, let me copy that, open a new tab and just paste it quickly. You can see if I just type 5 here, it's going to give me a fact for 5. Okay, and if I type 10 here, it's going to give a fact for 10. So we're basically going to change this value and get the facts and get this whatever we have and just put it, oops, so I'm sorry, let's put it up here. Okay, so that's what we need. For now, we're just gonna get something called just a simple dummy data 5, and then what we want to show, so it's gonna return a promise. So you can say dot then. So let's get the response of it. Okay, response, and we wanna map this out. Okay, or copy this out, just map this out, and we wanna get the response, and whatever the response we get from that, which is gonna only get the text. And anyway, we only could get the text because that's the only thing that we would have in this inside this. Okay, and response dot text, and then what we want to say, we say then, and then we want to get the data and map this data up and map this data, and we have the data here. Whatever text we grab is gonna be this data, and just in cause of just checking it, let's just console log the data itself. And now it's gonna say malform the function parameter list. Where is it? Oh, what's wrong with that? Even with dot then. So let's get rid of this, and we want to say dot then, and we want to get that data, and inside this data we want to map this data, and we just want to, just to make sure everything works, let's just console log the data itself. And if you save it, we don't get anything because we didn't still click on this, and it's going to generate. So if you're going to put 5 and click, it's going to generate me a number called 5, and it's going to say 5 is a number of appendices, starfish, whatever, okay, blah blah blah. And if I say 57, it's going to give you a number for 57. Oops, 5 is the number what? Alright, so let's say like 56, and let's say enter, and it's going to give you 5 is the alright, I just forgot about it. Okay, we are hitting 5. Okay, we're using 5 as the endpoint, so we're not going to target the input. So if you want to get the input, you can straight up, you can just get rid of this, and you can create a $sign, and you can put using ex6, and you just want to say input, and the thing is not working. It's because we have to use backticks. Okay, so it's below the escape button, and if you see backticks, and now we can hit an endpoint, so we can say 56, and it's going to give 56 as the age of whatever guys, republic, whatever, in China, whatever. Okay, so now we're hitting that endpoint. So it's just a matter of fact that we have to just grab this and just automate and just put it up here. Okay, we have to grab this and just put it up here. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, all right, so as we have already grabbed this one right here, which is sorry, this one and this one here, it's very simple for us. So we have to say, first of all, let's change the card title, and let's say dot inner HTML, and we want to leave this to whatever input we have. Okay, so now let's save it. Now it's gonna be I'll type input 68, and if I click enter, okay, sorry, it's gonna be 67, so input also gonna change to 67. We're gonna do the same thing to the text. So let's say card text, and let's say dot inner HTML. Okay, and we want to map this up to the input, same thing. And now I want to say 78, and I click, and it's going to give you 78. I'm sorry, not to the input actually. We have to put this to the data. Okay, whatever data we have, whatever it returns. Okay, if I put 566 and enter, it's going to give 566. It's going to 566 is not a number. So they actually, some of the, not all numbers they have some of them, we have most of them, but some of the numbers just miss. So if you want to submit anything, you submit. Okay, so let's say 67, and if you try that, okay, it's going to say two digit number or whatever. Okay, so it's working. So once I refresh, it's going to go. So what I want at default, if I just type 7, it's gonna it's just gonna load. Sometimes it will just load, and it's just gonna delete, and you know, I just don't want the default values to just show up. Okay, for example this one, and if the endpoint is very slow, this basic value will be presented, which I don't want. So simply I can just go here in the p tag, as we're anyway doing estimating that. I'm gonna get rid of that, and even the number, I'm just gonna get rid of that. Okay, and now it's just gonna look like this. When we hit a number like that, it's gonna generate. Okay, it just looks nice for me, nice to do it. Okay, so now what we want to do, defaultly I want to set this to a none. I want this to be none. So we can do this in Bootstrap. We just want to add a one type class. So let's go to index.html and put this display none. Okay, so that's what we need. So it's displayed none. So in the main.js, what we have to do is that we have to listen for an event, and once that happens, we need to toggle just toggle this thing back. Okay, so just to add the class and remove that class. So once anyone clicks on that, I want this to happen. I want that particular class to appear and disappear. So we can do that. But before we want that, if I click just enter here, oops, let me just get rid of that here. Okay, now if I click enter here, okay, it's gonna give you this sort of a bad error. It's just gonna console.log, or it's just gonna represent whatever data inside the website. It's gonna put it up here. So this is something that it's a bug in our program, so we don't need that. We don't need that bug. If we have nothing, this thing is just gonna sort of show up. And by the way, you can also catch an error. So quickly I'll just do it. Actually forgot that. If you want to catch an error, okay, so dot catch, and you want to get the ER, which is the error, and then map this out to the error. So we can just console.log. Okay, so that's what we need. And by the way, I'm almost forgetting to do this. Okay, so let's say error, and we want to create a error, and this error we can just map this out and console.log to the error. Okay, and okay, so that would just, oops, now we'll just get rid of that, and we're going to put it here. Okay, so it will also work, and if I just click enter, it's gonna now we can console out the error, what type of error. So that's what it is doing, but we're not catching the error anyway, because the error is itself the bug, which is this one. Okay, this is some style sheet problems. This is the bug. Okay, for example, the HTML, the whole website's HTML is presented here, which we don't want. So we can block this. We can block the whole code here by using a if condition. Okay, so before we run this function itself, we need to check it with an if condition. Okay, so let's create an if. Okay, so basically we want to target this input. If this input is equals to nothing, if there's nothing is inside the input, if the input has nothing, and that if the I'm sorry, okay, let's make it very clear. If I want to check that the input is not, when the input is not equals to nothing, For example, if the input is empty, we wouldn't run it. So we're going to target the opposite way. So we want to say the input. So if the input is not equals to nothing, which means something is inside there, a number or a text, whatever, then I want this to work. Okay, I'm sorry, just get rid of that. Okay, that's it, just simple as it is. So now if I click enter, nothing is just getting generated. So that's what we need. So if I type 545, then that's going to generate. So we're just going to blocking the code saying if the input is actually not equals to 0, then just don't not equals to nothing, then just don't do it. Okay, so we're going to give this back none. And now what I want, when someone clicks on that and when this works, I need to get this card, the one I created up here, and I'm going to say, first of all, I want to remove this class, which has now basically it has a class called display none. So first of all, I want to remove this class. Why I remove this class? Because we are using bootstrap class, and there could be some syntax error or something like that when the code you know, it's not nice. So first of all, when anyone click, I want to block this up. I want to display block, so I want to say display none, and I want to get that card, and I want to get the class. I'm sorry, it should be, we want to remove the class list. Okay, so I want to say class list dot remove, and inside that we want to remove a class there called display none. Okay, it doesn't mean that it's going to be display let's try this out. Okay, so if I type 5, if I just type enter, nothing is there. If I type 5, it's going to generate a 5 number. Okay, so it's working. Okay, so enter, it's going to generate, and if I have nothing, it's just going to generate nothing, and that's also going to just pause. And if I just type like that, so let's try this here as well. Let's create that, let's put 5, enter, and if I just delete that and enter, it's going to work. Okay, so it's just matching the whole program itself. So now the one last thing that I want to do is the copy. Okay, the copy button. So this copy button is just a dummy button, it's not working. So let's quickly create a copy button right there, a copy function. So what we want to do, we have to create this copy button. So I'm just gonna grab this okay, the code. So we're basically creating a copy button, and we're gonna get this copy button, which is inside here, which has a class of copy button. Okay, and then what I want to run a function here. Okay, so quickly paste it up. So what I want to run a function copy button. I'll get this, and whenever anyone clicks on this, I want to run a function called copy text. Okay, so now we'll create a function called copy text. So anyone clicks on that, I need it to run a function called copy text. Okay, and now this is going to take a couple of things inside that. First of all, we need to create a text area. Okay, so let's grab some code. Okay, I just wanted to do the main part, explaining these just grabbing from the DOM it doesn't be needed that much. Okay, so we need to create a text area. We're going to create an element. We're going to create a text area element inside this, and then we also want to get this card. It's because we are working with the card here. We also need to get this card as well. This card's text, this one. It makes sense. It makes sense when I do it. Okay. So basically, what this is this line of code basically grabs whatever is inside this one, which is the card text, for it to be copied. And now what we want to do, we want to do a couple of things. First of all, we want to get the text area, and first of all we want to get the value of it. Okay, and value, we want to just put that value is equals to the card text. Okay, that's gonna be it. And the next thing that I want to do, I want to say document, and the document of body, we're going to append the child. So when I say append child, and the child is going to be child, which I mean the element itself is going to be a text area, which we have created here. So we say text area, and we're going to just append the text area, and what we want to do, we want to get the text area dot selected. Okay, and then that function would just select the text area, and we want to document, and we want to execute some command. So you want to say document dot exec command, and then the command of it, you can do copy paste. So we're going to just say copy. Okay, and we copy that, and once we copy that, we just don't need the text area anymore, so we simply remove that, which is also a function. And at last, I need the user to be alerted with some dummy text which says the fact has been copied. So I'll copy the text and paste it here. That's it, that's simply it. Now if I type here 67 and enter, we get some facts. So if I copy that, I get an alert saying it's been copied, and if I paste here, we get the things pasted. Whatever animal we have, sorry, whatever text we have, what would I say animal, whatever text we have, it's been pasted. Okay, just that, it's very simple. And it's working. So how we basically work, we basically create this, we get this copy text function, and just call this up here. When anyone clicks on this copy button, just run it function, and this function would run when anyone clicks on this copy button. Okay, so I'll leave the actual original code, which is formatted, which all of the comments and stuff like that. If you're a beginner, no problem. But if you love the video, leave the like. I hope you guys have loved it. Watch these videos without ad blocker, which helps me to improve my channel. By the way, I didn't still hit 1,000 subscribers, so I'm not earning anything from YouTube, but still, if you could support me in any way, you could subscribe and click on the like button in the video. Okay, so suggest if you have any video ideas, and I will see you soon.